with regards to the Middle East. This attack on Syria surely plays into the interests of the Israeli regime as well.
Well, absolutely. Israel is the elephant in the room here, the kind of quiet elephant in the room, if you want. A lot of American policy, particularly now that it's, I mean, over the past few years since the US was effectively pushed out of Syria by Russia, a lot of the continuing efforts of the US quote-unquote coalition in Syria, including today's attack on area cruise missile attack, really at the behest of Israel and in the interests of Israel, because as everybody knows, Israel is hysterical about the possibility of Iranian influence spreading into Syria and across the Middle East, and thereby kind of unseating Israel as the top dog in the Middle East, as it has been for many decades. So yes, a lot of this continuing American and French and British saber rattling and attacks on Syria and staged provocations like the so-called chemical weapons attacks is all with the intent of serving Israel's interests really in the Middle East and maintaining Israeli hegemony in the Middle East, or trying to safeguard it for a little bit longer. But it's a losing game, and that's the truth across the board here, is that all of these Western powers, including Israel, are losing the Middle East, and they're losing their positions in the Middle East, and they're desperate to try and do something to stop that from happening.
Well, a senior Russian commander who gave a statement on U.S.-led attacks on Syria said that the U.S. is also not interested in the investigation to the alleged chemical attack in Duma, as you mentioned, as being not interested in a peaceful solution to the Syrian war. And the senior Russian commander also added that the attack itself was in response to the Syrian army's success against terrorists.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's a desperate, futile attempt to. I really don't understand what they're trying to achieve here. I mean, it seems that the Americans at least have it pretty clear in their mind. They don't want to go to war against Russia. They were very careful in this cruise missile attack not to target any Russian installations. So they're not going to push it to the edge or to the brink of all-out nuclear war between Russia and the US. So what they think they can actually achieve through these kind of attacks is beyond me, really, other than a little bit of an increase or a bolstering of their reputation, maybe, that they're still a force to be reckoned with. But anybody who really understands what's going on can see that like I said, it wasn't a show of force. It was really a show of weakness. It was an act of weakness and an act of desperation. And I don't really see it going anywhere. And like I said, I don't think anybody in the US is planning on having a hot war with Russia. So they're just putting off the inevitable here, that they're going to be ultimately pushed out of the Middle East, at least in the way that they have been in over the past 20th century, effectively. It's time for change, and some people find change very difficult, and that's what we have to deal with. But we have to suffer through it and just realize that America and its allies are going to kick and scream and thrash, but eventually a new reality will assert itself.
Earlier, we also had this at the Russian military stated the Western Allied fired 103 cruise missiles at Syria, including Tomahawk missiles. But the Syrian air defense systems managed to intercept 71 of them. Mr. Quinn, at this point in time, this is a major achievement for the Syrian army, isn't it?
Yeah, although obviously those numbers are hard to verify, and we would expect that the Russians and the Syrians would tend to maybe massage those figures up, while we notice that the US would tend to play them down and say that they're not aware that any missiles were shot down. But certainly, I think that on balance, probably quite a number. There are certainly videos of apparent successful interceptions of these missiles, and I note that the Russian Department of Defense made a point of noting that the anti-missile systems that were used to shoot down the American nice new smart missiles were Cold War era anti-aircraft or anti-missile systems, the S-120 and the S-200. That's almost done as a way to kind of like stick the knife in, if you know what I mean, in a certain sense, by showing that American military prowess isn't necessarily all it's cracked up to be. But yes, I mean, technically this was the Syrian military, the Syrian army, and their anti-missile systems that were used to shoot down these systems. There'd be no evidence that any of the newer Russian S-300s or S-400s were used. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But certainly, this is an own goal, really, for the US. And but of course, you have to wade through the propaganda. I have to wade through the Western media spin on everything, where they're going to engage in all sorts of jingoism and look how great we are. Isn't America so wonderful and powerful and stuff? And you have to really wade through all of that and try and it's a media battle. It's a war. It's a media war or an information war going on at the minute, and everybody really who has the ability should be engaged in that and trying to find to identify the truth of the situation and give the most accurate, most balanced interpretation of events, because that's really how things can go bad very quickly, where the people are persistently lied to and manipulated by the media primarily. So a media campaign to expose the truth of what's going on, and a persistent, continued media campaign, alternative media, PressTV, Russian channels really need to keep on this and to try and inform the world population, and particularly Western populations, of what the truth of the situation is about, because that's the best chance we have of really pushing back this kind of American and Western belligerence and desire to, intimidate the rest of the world and bomb the rest of the world if they don't get their way.